Fletcher. Now sit back and prepare to be entertained. Welcome to the Podcast.
Hey, I guess I'm introducing us this time, and I forgot. So here I go, filling time. Welcome back to the Dripping Bucket. We're here with the winner of SPFBO 7, who is way too good for us and is slumming it down here with us. Us losers who finished lower on the board. JD Evans, who won with Raid and Ruin. Who is currently experiencing PTSD after watching SPFBO 9 finish on a close race. And also Michael Fletcher, who's done SPFBO a couple times. SPFBO's on my mind this week, guys. I'm sorry.
I can tell, yeah.
Yeah, so we last time we kind of talked more macro, zoomed out, but I'm really curious to hear about how it is for you, 4 books deep, 4+ side books deep, into a 6-book series, which is theoretically almost done, but actually probably terrifying because now you have to start sticking the landing.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Krystle.
As somebody,
no pressure, but the last 2 books better be fucking amazing.
No pressure. I'm so glad I could help you. But actually, like, the reason I think about it is because I've also done the same stupid thing to myself, where it's like, I think I'm gonna do 6 as well for the series. I can't see a way to make it any shorter unless it's Rock's Fall, anyone dies, you know? So here I am. Help. How's it going? Give me some hope.
Oh, I may not be the one for this episode. You're hoping to end with hope. Yeah, I do not recommend beginning your career with a long series. I don't recommend it at all. Yeah, you know, I guess I'll caveat that. Depending on what kind of books you write, you know, like a series is probably a good idea for a new writer because, and I think the wisdom that prevails is that you're trying to build a community, a fan base, and doing that based on standalones can be very difficult because they're hard to market. You have to market them individually. You know, are you writing in a variety of subgenres where you have a different audience? Like, there's just a lot of complication that comes from writing standalones. However, there's a happy medium between that and, hi, I'm brand new here, and I'm going to write an epic 6-book series. Don't do that. Don't do that. I highly recommend, like, a duology or a trilogy.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, it was like you said that it seems close because there's only 2 main books left, but, like, we're literally talking about, like, a couple more years of my life before I escape from this sinkhole that I have.
So, are you feeling that you're anxious to get out and do something else, or is it more just like
I can feel it starting? You know, like, I can feel the edge of it. It's less like, oh my god, I'm so bored with this, because I'm not. I enjoy the series. I like the characters. I you know, the people that read it and love it are really awesome people to engage with. But I also know it'll be fun to write something else that is a duology or a trilogy.
That's shorter.
Yeah. But I can feel like it's like on the horizon. I can kind of see that eagerness coming. Like, I'm starting to think about other ideas. What do I want to do next? You know, where do I go as far as, like, am I going to stay in this kind of epic fantasy, romantasy subgenre? Am I going to go more, you know, like, I grew up reading both fantasy and science fiction, so I have all kinds of ideas, but those don't always translate back and forth. Like, at this point, you have to start making decisions a little based on, you know, how you're going to sell it. So, I'm not necessarily eager to jump into the next project for that reason. Yeah.
Once you try to sell a couple of these things, you start to go, maybe I could make this easier for myself by writing things that are sellable.
Yeah. Having tried wandering completely out of my genre and seeing that book sort of bloop, just absolutely disappear. It's like, okay, let's not do that again.
Which one's that? Which one?
Millennial Manifesto, the real world sort of thriller.
Oh.
Yeah, not remotely fantasy at all. It's all just real world, and oof. That's dumb.
Yeah, just nobody wanted it.
People like to know what to expect, and they don't always love a surprise. When it comes to their books, especially like, I think it's true of a lot of readers, but it is especially true of romance readers. You know, they very much know what they like and who they're going to get that from. And if that person strays, it can be catastrophic. Like if Michael Crichton tried to write, you know, in the style of Nora Roberts or something, and I just don't think it'd go well.
He would never. Let's be honest. He could never. So then,
anyway,
the part of the challenge, at least that I see from book 2, from the perspective of book 2, is keeping people interested enough to keep following you. And I feel like, you know, you mentioned as a romance or a romantasy writer, you did yourself a service by changing the couples each time. Like, was that intentional? Did you know that was going to be your marketing strategy?
You know, actually, it sometimes very much works against me.
Oh, okay.
So when I came into writing fantasy romance, like, I was actually really struggling because I was like, do I want to write romance or do I want to write fantasy? Because when I published Reign and Ruin, it was not a thing. Even then, like it is now.
Before.
I was very much like, fantasy readers don't want a romance, and romance readers don't. Like, I didn't really think it was a thing until I discovered Grace Draven. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to write. I want to write this. You know, I want to write a second world fantasy with romance in it. And people do read this. And so I was like, oh, cool. But at the time, I was reading a lot of paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And paranormal romance is exclusively, almost, I mean, it's very much branched out now, but primarily you're looking at werewolves. There's like a pack, and it's all in the pack's plot line, but it's from person to person to person, right? And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Surely other readers will like that. And at the time, they were like, no, we don't like that. No.
So they wanted
and a lot of people do stop at Reign and Ruin because they're like, I don't want to engage with another couple. I want more of this book. And things like, you know, Krystle and I are friends with Carissa Broadbent and her Daughter of No Worlds. I mean, she branches out with other characters, but like you follow these same. It's not the way I do, where the story is this other couple, or From Blood and Ash and ACOTAR follows these main characters, right? And so people are kind of conditioned to want that kind of slower, over multiple books burn.
Okay.
In romance parlance. And so sometimes it does bite me in the butt. But I think more people are like, oh, this is kind of a fun change up, and they like that overarching plot, but with different couples, because a lot of romance readers, they do lose interest once the couple gets together. So that's the strength. I would say that is the main strength of it, is that you get that romance thrill new in each book. So that's the strength. But the downside is that right now it's a little more popular to follow a couple through 2 or 3 books. But whatever.
Yeah,
tastes
so then that
change. We'll pretend I'm like the forerunner of a new
Yeah, exactly. It'll pick up any minute now, and you'll be the trendsetter.
Yeah, exactly. I joke with Krystle and Carissa a lot that I feel like I'm the one. I'm like constantly coming to the dock as the boat hits the horizon on all these trends. On like some people hit them, like they get on TikTok at the right time, they get on Instagram at the right time, they get on a trope at the right time, and I'm always like do like 10 years later, here I come. Oh, we're past this.
It's retro. It's throwback.
Right. I should start marketing myself as retro.
There you go.
I'm still writing 90s fantasy, so what the hell?
Yeah, see, that's yeah. And that's interesting too, because I grew up reading 90s fantasy, Dragonlance, and some of my more favorite books like Juliette Marillier's Daughter of the Forest, which Seven Waters series. It's really old school, like epic.
Yeah.
It's a retelling of the Six Swan Brothers. And
cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it does get thrown around a lot in fantasy circles, or romantasy circles. So I grew up on kind of that older style writing. It's a bit wordier than what's trendy now. And so I do get dinged on that a lot. They're like, there were so many words. Sorry, you guys.
I shit the book. Some extra words fell out. Yeah. I don't know why they're all here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I feel that. I feel that hard.
I know you do. I'm like, but they're all good words.
Yeah, I chose them very specifically for you. Oh, yeah. We're digging into my trauma right now. This is not good.
Yeah.
I had a thought and I lost it.
When you can hear Krystle's brain just like grind to a halt here.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
No, it's gone. Fletcher, help.
So, what aspect of writing and storytelling do you feel like is your sweet spot?
Yeah.
What's your writer like superpower? What's the part where you feel really good about what you're sort of creating?
Yeah, the individual POV or the individual storylines may feel like a bit of a, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a mistake. Like, obviously you're standing by what you produce, but it makes it harder to market. But so let's do the flip side. On the other hand, what do you feel like you're nailing? And I demand that you compliment yourself.
Oh, Krystle. If you had told me you were going to ask me that question, I wouldn't have even come on here.
Yeah.
I would like to think that and now my brain has stopped. Do you see I'm like physically incapable of doing this?
Well,
I think
let me say
what I try to do. Pardon me, Fletcher, I'm about to go on a feminist rant. It was important to me when I started writing the books that I'm going to back up a little bit. I am a recovering not like other girls. I've done a TikTok video on this.
Oh, girl.
I grew up a tomboy. I despised everything feminine. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be G.I. Jane. I didn't want anything pink anywhere near me. I thought, anything feminine was less than. I was very much just marinating in misogyny. And and I went into the army, absolutely. And then I don't know what the switch was. I can't tell you. It was before kids. But certainly after kids, I felt it even more. But I was like, oh my God, I missed out on half a lifetime of female friendships and camaraderie and not feeling like I was a freak because I was trying to, mostly have like male friends and stuff, and the experience is just very different. We don't have the same issues and things, and I realized that I kind of examined some of that internalized problem I was having, and as I went to write these books, I very much, I grew up and we liked that kick-ass girl. We did. Yeah. But I also realized as I got older that really that was just a man coded as a woman. And it was just a dude in a costume, right?
Oh, did you freeze now? Man, she was on a roll. Okay. Jen, you were on a roll.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, my computer is old. It's vintage.
It's also retro.
Just like me. Yeah, we're retro. Okay, so basically, I determined that what I would really love to do is kind of write an homage to things that are typically considered maybe feminine. But in the context of them that being like a strength. Yeah. And yes, that is absolutely still a strength. Because I think that part of the problem when you're trying to like equalize men and women in a fictional world is that if you only do it by one set of standards, like they gotta be able to wield a sword and they gotta be emotionally stunted and they, gotta curse like a sailor, that's cool. But we could also look at things like emotional intelligence or social intelligence, the ability to compromise, manage grief, hold up a family, like there's just, and unfortunately, I think in the West, we still struggle with this kind of equalizing what
strength is.
Strengths that are different. Right. So that I feel like I'm at least making an attempt to, in each of my characters, each of my sets of books, I wanted each of those women to kind of highlight a different kind of female
femininity and strength,
attribute. Or not only, it's so hard for me to phrase this correctly, because I'm not saying that men aren't like this. I'm saying that classically, these are not considered leadership qualities, right? Or the hero's journey.
I think that was a good list of things that guys are generally shit at. It's just true. Like,
depends on how evolved they are, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I can definitely.
That's what I'm attempting.
I can definitely relate to that, like recovering, not like other girl, story arc, because I did the same thing.
I think a lot. Yeah, and I think a lot of women in our generation, elder millennial, mid-millennial, whatever you want to, probably had that at least to some extent, because we were still very much, I grew up with a dad that went to the Vietnam War, and, all my grandfathers fought in World War II or whatever, and it was just, and then I thought my parents were really progressive that way until they revoked the women can't be in direct combat in the army after I got out.
Okay.
And I was watching a program. I was watching Jon Stewart with my mom and my dad. And he was joking about the way that they talk about women in the military, and my dad was just like so like puffed up and angry about it. And I realized that this guy that I thought really didn't think that
you
could be in his own daughter, like was not capable of doing the same sorts of things. And that's a discussion that I could go on for years about capabilities and different people and stuff, but it was kind of interesting to realize what I had grown up with and what was stuck in here.
Yeah, and then, you get to process it in kind of like a safer space of second world fantasy where you get to just challenge
what's interesting about it is that I wrote misogyny into my books, and I have seen people like, oh, I'm so tired of this, why can't we have fantasy without misogyny? And I was like, I understand that. I think I understand that you want like new paradigms or new struggles, and I get that. I respect that. I think though, like when you're writing as an author, half of it is your own therapy. You're like, apparently Fletcher has something with insects he needs to deal with, and I have to work through it.
I found I had tried to write a different societal structure where like just for example, when people get married, they don't always take the man's name in the same way that we do historically in our culture. Instead, my decision was, okay, well, the family that has the most power is the one whose name continues down the line. So like we get Ilya Winter, and her husband has taken her name because the Winter name is more valuable. So I tried that in theory, and yet it still bled into into that book where her dealing with business, she's thrown up against, like, she has to kind of play dumb because people just assume
I think it's hard
and I just
when you grew up that way to fully realize a society in your head that doesn't have that, because it's not just oh, it was hard to do my job. It's very like intrinsic to many of the interactions that you have, and that feels normal to you, and you don't realize where it comes from, why it's like that, how it ties into so many parts of your existence. It's very difficult to extract yourself from it. And so it is interesting to me, particularly younger readers, that they're like, ugh, this is so tiring, and it's a good sign, I think. It means that they can recognize and realize an existence where that isn't like the norm.
We're tired too. We're fighting it. We're tired.
Really, until you've confronted your childhood programming, until you've sort of like really faced that, you haven't actually grown up.
And I feel that and in my books, and I'm sure, Jen, you're feeling the same way. Like every time you sit down and write these, not just the strengths, but also the way their society is perceiving them as not having their strengths. It's like, this is a conversation that I could actually have had in my life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to, I don't think you can fully separate, maybe there are authors out there that can, but I don't think you can fully separate all of your identity from the characters you're creating, because like me, I'll draw like out a thread of some experience or some aspect of my own personality, and then expand on that with, whatever empathy or extrapolation I can put into it. Right. So it's very difficult to create something entirely outside, and I respect anybody that can.
I'd like to know how. I'd like a tutorial. Right.
Somebody needs to do that class.
Now I'm curious, just randomly as a tangent, for you, Fletcher, with the bugs, how was that? Is like, how intentional were you in
part of your personality are you drawing upon?
But how intentional was the building of, like, I'm gonna do different focuses, or did you let it just be a mirror to normal human?
So writing about insects in a matriarchal hive was not at all a sneaky way of attacking monkeys in a patriarchal tribe. Flipping everything, changing, spinning all these sort of like cultural norms. Like, that's not what it was about at all.
I believe you.
No,
you're just trying to keep your reputation as being a meathead. Right?
I just wanted to write a book about some bugs. That's it. There's no hidden message in there.
There never is. I
thought praying mantises are cool. That's
praying
it.
Mantises are cool.
End of story.
I can respect that. I don't like bugs, but if you're gonna choose one, I think praying mantis. I respect that choice. Oh,
They're scary.
they are. They're
scary
tough little
bug.
fuckers. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any heads bitten
my
off?
poor my poor son was assaulted by a praying mantis. It was this is so not writing related, but now I have to tell it. We were getting a snow cone and we were just standing there, and I was like, oh look, here's this praying mantis. How cool is this? I think he was like 3.
Oh, no.
And this thing like flew, I don't think he realized that not everybody realizes they can fly. It flew, and they get really big and scary when they fly, and it like landed on him. The screams.
Poor guy.
He, it wasn't hurting him, but he was physically assaulted by this bug. The poor kid.
Yeah, that's
terrifying.
That's a core fear downloaded into that kid.
Absolutely, yeah. He will never escape that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Parenting right there.
I felt so bad. Anyway. Yeah, pretty much. Look at this cool thing, and then it tries to kill you. Sorry, buddy.
The entirety of our jobs is just trying to keep those things alive, man, and it is harder than you'd think it is until you have some.
Yeah. Especially that second one. I've talked to Krystle and Carissa about this a lot, because Carissa's a newer parent, and Krystle is old hat, and but then there's that like stereotype that your first kid is easy and your second kid is not,
and you don't even
I know that's not always
how
true,
easy that first one is until you have the second one, and
no,
you're like, oh,
you do not. My second child is a
from
freaking
whence
nightmare.
Did this
like he will
come?
be such a cool person. He will be such a cool person. Everybody will love him. He'll be a lot of fun. He'll be really interesting, and he is so freaking hard to parent. I would just like to go out and get milk and not come back some days,
Oh yeah, that's me and Ellie, because it's like there's this awareness, that she is. Of all of my children, I'm least worried about her. She is tough. She is strong. She's like boss lady. Like she's gonna take names, But I have to survive her, and I don't know if I can. Surviving raising a tough girl.
I feel you. Not with my sanity intact. I can tell you that right now.
Oh man. Well, on that very hopeful and happy and not at all hostage situation, Mark, I think we got to call it. And just thank you so much for coming on. It was really great to talk to you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's so nice to get to chat with you guys again.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us. And I think we found our new direction. We're now a parenting podcast, and the hell with this book bullshit.
I like it.
There's more important things to talk about.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean,
how the fuck do you do this?
Really, honestly, when you think about it, writing a book and raising a child is so very similar.
It is.
Except, in a lot of ways.
Books are easier.
Except the book.
They're a little easier.
Book respects me when I'm done with it.
Does it? I think does it though, Krystle?
At least it reflects well on me. We'll put it that way. Where like it goes out into the world, and I'm like, yeah, I did that. And then my children,
you can take it out in public, and not stress it.
I take my children out in public, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a part of this either. But they're mine. I have to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really great. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And we'll be back.